This is the Mickey Miles and More podcast, your one-stop for information on Disney races, Disney vacations, Disney theme parks, and more. Now, here are your hosts for the Mickey Miles and More podcast, Michelle Scribner-McLean, Chris Eliopoulos, and Mike Scopa.
Welcome home, Milers, and welcome back to another episode of Mickey Miles and More, a podcast where three friends talk about their passion for the Disney parks. I'm Chris Eliopoulos, and with me, as always, is the fun-loving Dr. Michelle Scribner-McLean. Welcome, Michelle.
Fun-loving without a G?
Fun-loving.
Oh, that's good. I am fun-loving. I did a whole lesson today on what makes pancakes fluffy. Oh. And we even had pancakes to look at. So that's fun. I'm fun.
Wow. That's a party.
I mean, for
that's
me, like I've written some things, but I've never had anything banned like you, Chris.
I'm an insurrectionist, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Insurgent?
Chris,
I don't know.
Chris has a banned book. So I don't know whether to be excited or upset, but I'm more upset. Yeah. So I Am Rosa Parks is banned in a school district in Pennsylvania. So
yeah, if you take a look online, you can see there's some on CNN and a few other places. There's York, Pennsylvania school system has. They're reviewing these books, but really
they're frozen. They're frozen. The books are frozen. And
so they're basically all books that are either done by or about people of color. What I found interesting is one of the books is Malala's book. Now, if you know Malala, her whole story was that all she wanted to do was learn, and she was being forced not to learn. And she got shot in the head because she wanted to go to school and learn. And these people are banning that book, which is like
so I am
irony.
What is it? I am
Malala?
Yeah.
No, it's her pen book, something.
Oh, okay.
She wrote a children's book about with her pen or something like that.
Well,
anyway, so that's the fun story. Also with us is the also fun-loving No G, Mike Scopa. Welcome back.
And let's get back to banning, because I want to ban pancakes from this household, because yesterday I made 90 pancakes for Michelle to use in her class. So I don't want to see another pancake.
You were the support system.
With
that's
three
awesome.
different recipes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
What?
You're the support.
With three different recipes.
With three different recipes.
Teaching young minds about science.
That's right.
I've recently gotten a nutritionist to help me with my eating. And one of the breakfasts she has recommended, and she gave me a recipe for, was banana pancakes. So I want to give those a try soon.
Yeah, there's a whole song by Jack Johnson too. You have to.
True, I love that song.
While you're making it, yeah, me too.
I love that song. The other one I started making was overnight oats.
Oh, yeah, my brother's a big fan of those.
Actually, pretty easy. I made it. My wife stole half of it. But the reason I mention nutrition is because technically we're 16 weeks out from marathon weekend. And usually if you look at some of these schedules that people provide for training, this is the moment. So if you guys are signed up for your half or your full marathon, maybe now's the time to get started this weekend to get out running. But we also wanted to talk about a little bit about RunDisney. We want to talk about the recent news about Rise of the Resistance queues, and maybe a few other little things about fingerprint scanners and a few other little notes. But so Mike, I want to read to you a quick thing. So I was looking at the Disney website, the RunDisney website, and there was a note here at the bottom of the overview, and it says, "We may not be quite ready to bring back every element of RunDisney race weekend, as COVID-19 guidelines may change before our return to in-person running. Please visit our RunDisney Return to In-Person Running page for the latest information. During the race weekend, we may implement health and safety measures such as face coverings, physical distancing, and other requirements if they are deemed appropriate." And then you go to the page. It's got all kinds of information about, the expo and stuff. What do you think they're going to do? Like, what's the plan?
One of the things I mentioned in our previous show, Chris was always concerned about when places, organizations like Disney, they were trying to bring things back online. And I always wondered if it would be better just to wait until you can come back 100%. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And going over the stuff for those who have, like all of us, who have had a lot of experience running the Run Disney races for the last 10, 15, 20 years, we're used to certain things, but it's not going to be the same. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see over the next several months what type of information is going to be provided. Because if you notice, Chris, on the page, they kept saying, come back, come back, come back. There are a lot of things that right now are up in the air. For instance, those people who want to cheer on their runners, what are they going to do? The health and fitness expo, you can't pick up your bib on race day. There's a whole bunch of things that are up in the air, and it's September, so those people who are going to run, they need to start training. I don't know if I know Michelle is going to be volunteering for the Boston Marathon in about a month. And can you say anything about that?
So yeah, this whole thing about Run Disney got me wondering. I know we talked about the race directors talking to each other, and I got an update today that said if you are going to volunteer, you need to be fully vaccinated. To be a volunteer, you need to submit proof that you're vaccinated, and that just so we're safe as volunteers, the runners all have to be vaccinated. And also we obviously have to be masked wherever we are, but we also have to wear gloves. So it'll be interesting to see how things change and evolve. Boston has Massachusetts has one of the lowest COVID rates and one of the highest vaccination rates. So it'll be just really interesting to see how they look at the data and update it, and what's going to happen. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
I was just going to say, but you know what? There's the problem with marathons is people are coming from all over the world, the country, to come see it. So you're not just getting the Boston people. You're not just getting Massachusetts.
Right.
You're
so
getting
in
somebody
Boston, as a runner, you have to show negative COVID, I think 72 hours ahead of time. So you have to have a test.
And they haven't mentioned that on the Run Disney page. At least I haven't seen anything that says the runners will be required to show proof of vaccination.
Yeah.
I can't, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal.
Well, could you imagine though, like Michelle and I think mentioned on the previous podcast, trying to run with a mask on is just brutal.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to run 20...
coming up
in Florida.
Yeah. I have a half marathon coming up in a month in Massachusetts, and I'm really worried about the corrals and things like that. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it's,
I think we're still learning.
Well,
What are you willing to do? What are we willing to
tolerate and
be okay with? Yeah.
What are we willing to risk? That's the key. The word is risk. I think it's too risky.
Here's some questions I have too. If we reach that point where we're getting closer and numbers are iffy, we're not really sure, we're not feeling safe, I wonder, is Disney going to, or Run Disney going to refund money if you decide you don't want to participate? I know it's one of those things that, we've had issues in the past with injury where we've had to defer to the following year, but they don't give you your money back. It's a weird situation where they go, what they do is you have to buy the next year's ticket, right? Or thing, right? So you have to pay out whatever, if you're doing the dopey, you're spending $600. Then they will refund eventually your money from it was a weird process, and maybe it's changed now, but they've also said they don't want to refund money. But Michelle, the other thing I was thinking about, so there's a little notice here, and it goes by, you don't really read through it, but it says, we may not be quite ready to bring back every element of a Run Disney race weekend, as COVID-19 guidelines may change before our return to in-person running. And I was thinking about our trips and how kind of disappointed we were that not everything was open and not everything was running the same way. We felt like we weren't getting our money's worth in terms of the parks. Do you feel like you're going to get that if they or what would they get rid of for now?
Well, I'm willing to do with less, but when I think honestly, when my mind goes to a Run Disney race, like the first thing that pops through my mind is running down Main Street USA and how fun that is. To the point where I even on the show years ago, I said to people I would give advice: don't run, walk, walk down, because it's just so absolutely fun. But what makes part of the reason it's fun is because there are hundreds and hundreds of people there cheering on Main Street USA, and I wonder like what will that be as fun running down if it's there'll probably be cast members there, but it's not going to be people cheering and cheering and cheering and holding signs and things like that. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. The corrals, of course, I worry about that. Are we going to be masking in the corrals and then dropping the mask to run?
Well, think about it. You're going to have to take it with you anyway, because at least at this point, masks are still required indoors. So even walking through your hotel to get out to your bus and then onto your bus, you have to wear a mask. And then you get to the expo, you can be outdoors. Again, in the corrals. I mean, it's weird because the queues that are outdoors, they don't require a mask for the parks. I don't know what they would do at the corrals.
Another interesting thing, getting back to Boston a little bit. So Boston is a point-to-point race. You start in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, you go to Boston. But there's a huge green in Hopkinton that's called Athletes Village. And I read in this email, it just came today, we will have no Athletes Village. So instead of that, they're having rolling starts. So I'm wondering, if that's what Run Disney will do instead, is to not have everybody show up in the corrals A through P, but to say, A's, we'd like you to come at this time. Make it more of a rolling type of start. I don't know how that will. I can't imagine it in Hopkinton, even with fewer runners. So I really can't imagine it.
But even their whole point of getting in there early is to get out of the races early, to get out of the parks, so that they're not going to want to jeopardize their gate by having people running through the park. So.
Is it just when anybody shows up, you walk down and you just go? It's not going to be, on your mark, get set, go.
Yeah, everybody just go. No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's what the thing is.
Your
we don't
chip
really know.
will say when you start, right?
Yeah. They also say the races will continue to feature on-course entertainment for our participants. However, this may look different than past races. I keep thinking of these high school bands that play on the side of the road, and they're blowing through their horns at you.
Well, I'm thinking of all the characters who you can stand in line and get your picture taken with and hug them. It's going to be people in the background or behind a fence, and you can do selfies. There'll be no lines. What do you think, Michael?
I'm thinking of this and how there's going to be some changes, and looking at it through the eyes of, this may be a reach, an instructional designer, where if you're in a classroom, you can do things, but the classroom is going to be the race course, and you're going to be instructing a large number of people what to do and what to expect, and it's really going to be interesting to see how they can do this. And I'm thinking that there are other things that we may not even been taking into consideration, like the water stops. Now, I'm pretty sure that the three of us, I know I never stopped at the water stops for water. I carried my water. I think most people do. Most people who run a lot of races long distance will take their own mixture and everything. But there's a whole bunch of things, that and the medals. We volunteered twice for the medals. I was thinking, gee, if everything was going to be fine, I was going to volunteer. I'm not going to do it because who knows what's going to be happening at the medals. So again, it comes back to the runners. Are the runners going to be required to be vaccinated? There are so many questions. It's only September.
Yeah, but I'm still excited about it. I'm excited about the possibility. You can't be excited about it, but and I don't think we should expect the same experience. No, but I'm still excited. Should be, it's outside, right? So that's.
I think it's Disney's responsibility to make it safe for the runners, for the volunteers, for the spectators. And if they are going to be careless, then it's going to be on them. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the thing is, too, is I would think if they were going to require a vaccine to get into the race, they would have done it when we had to sign up. So at no point are they going to just now all of a sudden, come December 15th.
I disagree
I don't know.
because I think there's a lot of, I know at my university, all the students were required like within the last month before school started to show proof of vaccination. There's, and faculty too. I think there's some systems in place where they're able to do it quickly. Today was the first day I heard that I was going to have to show vaccination proof for the Boston Marathon volunteering. And it's the 13th, I think, October 13th. I don't remember. So I think there's systems in place now that weren't in place a year ago where they can turn it around quickly. And I think there's plenty of time for them to ask us to be
I was going to say, but here's the thing. So, I mean, let me start off by saying I think the test case is going to be Disney's Wine and Dine. And if you look under the website, so far, the 10K, the half, the challenge, and the post-race party are all still available. Obviously, the virtual races are still available. But in order to be vaccinated in time, you'd probably have to be going within the next week or two.
Yeah.
And they would have to put out a notification in a week or two saying, by the way, if you are not fully vaccinated by 2 weeks before November 5th, then you need to, but then they're going to have to be required to return money. And people could give that as an excuse to get out of this. So I would think that maybe, it's a weird logistics thing. I can't figure out, because they don't want to give the money back, and giving somebody an out like this and saying, well, we're not, you need to be vaccinated. If you're not, we'll let you out and give you your money back, or we're going to save your money till next year. People are going to livid. I mean, I know, the IRS, right? You pay your taxes, and then the end of the thing, and if
we've had our money for over 2 years for the cruise that we're supposed to go on, so yeah, I get
know,
it.
but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's just you owe them money, they're like, we want it in 2 weeks, but when they're going to give you your money back, I literally just got my refund from April, literally in September. Right now, if I had done that, they would fine me how much money, right? So it's the same kind of thing. Yep. So
at least in the cruise, the case of the cruise, that was our choice. But yes,
sure, yeah, just like we did with the annual passes. Like I made a choice to give it back and hold up. But in case you're wondering too, in terms of the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend, the only options that are available right now still are the marathon and the Dopey Challenge. Those are still open. So the marathon's $195 and the Dopey Challenge is $600. There's no chance to get the Grumpy Challenge, right? Is that what you wanted, Mike? What'd you call it?
Yeah, it was called the Grumpy, I think.
Right? It was everything but the marathon.
I'm sorry, Chris.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that of all the races, that you guys would you guys agree that the 10K was always the most crowded on the course? Remember the 10K we'd run around?
I always felt like the half was just way too packed.
I know, so it was the 5K, to be honest with you.
Is walking and everything.
Yeah.
And
well, you got kids, people walking with their kids and strollers.
Right.
Walking around, running around boardwalk and everything. It was always compressed. And I'm thinking, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are going to be close together. They're going to be breathing heavy. They're not going to have masks. And some of them are going to be vaccinated. And some of them are not going to be vaccinated. So think about what's going to happen.
I think they're changing the kids races as well. But they haven't really sort of given an idea of what that is. But let's move on a little bit. Mike, what's next? What do you want to talk about?
For people who have been watching and listening, I think we were all under the impression that the fingerprint scanners were going to be gone forever from the turnstiles, and we're going to be using our
Apple Watches,
smart devices, Apple Watches and everything to get in, but they've returned the scanners because they don't want to see fraud, ticket fraud, I guess. So for those who haven't been for a while and who thought, hey, we don't have to worry about scanners, those are back at all the turnstiles. So that's something that, I think may have just flown underneath the radar. But
I did wonder how it could be that I couldn't just give my watch to somebody else and let them go through.
No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, that was like the big thing there for a while was hey, we can just start randomly giving this out to anybody to go. But the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was the Candlelight Processional is coming back, but they're going to make some changes, right?
Yeah, just like we were just talking with RunDisney, the components that we're used to with events such as Run Disney races and like the Candlelight Processional, it's not going to be the same. So the Candlelight Processional will not include the schools that we have seen in the past. They will not be.
So you're talking about the chorus who makes the tree
on stage. It's going to be made up of cast members, former singers. They all have to be vaccinated, and that's going to be happening, just as it has in the past. The thing is, it's not going to be Osceola High School or this high school.
Is it going to be a reduced number of performances?
I don't know if they've had the schedule. I haven't looked that far, but I do know that it's coming back, and it's and they're all going to be required to have been vaccinated. So whoever's on the stage, and that goes for the musicians as well. Apparently the musicians and the performers all have to be vaccinated to perform. So that's another sort of return to normalcy, but not 100%.
All right. The other thing that is kind of breaking news today was the fact that over at Rise of the Resistance, the virtual queue is being ditched, and they're going back to a traditional standby queue. Oh, Michael, did we not call this? Did we not know that this was going to happen? Michael, I think you called it a long time ago when we talked about the Genie Plus system. Is this playing into that?
Chris, it's funny because it's going to happen about a week or two before Genie Plus comes online. And I know that they are preparing the cast members to understand exactly how Disney Plus is going to work so that the cast members can talk to the guests about it.
Disney Plus? Genie
Plus.
Okay.
I don't know how it's going to be welcomed. The thing with the virtual queue, and you experienced it with Audra and the boys, you weren't really crowded the time that you went to Rise of the Resistance. And I think that the way that the virtual queues and the boarding groups were set up, it really took away from the crowds. I mean, you actually were able to, when it was your time to go on, it was better than the Fast Pass ever was. Now with the standby, you could be waiting. That's a long queue. That's a very long queue. You could be waiting, I don't know, 90 minutes, 2 hours. And
there could be a 5K just in that queue line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
But here's the other
the Rise of the Resistance 5K.
With a standby line that is that long, and the pressure to get people through that as quickly as possible, you would think that there's going to be a potential for it to break down. And can you imagine waiting 2 hours and then having it break down and you have to come back? What are they going to give you, a fast pass for that? Or a lightning lane thing? So I don't know, but Chris, it's definitely everyone who I've been in contact with today who found out about it, they all say, oh, this is going to be related to Genie Plus. So I think you're right.
Yeah, of course. And Michelle, not for nothing, but as we always know, they like to spin things. So I'm assuming the spin is going to be, well, people were complaining about getting on those boarding groups, and it turned out it was not as easy for people, and people were getting frustrated. So we're going to save them all the trouble. Is that, do you think that holds water?
I actually disagree. I don't think they're going to try to spin this at all. I think they're going to say it was a temporary thing, and now we have this whole better system. So you want to go on, you can pay $24 extra per person. And I don't think it's going to be spun. What do you think, Mike?
It depends upon what you consider to be a spin.
Oh, yeah. So you're going to prove me wrong. I can see right here.
Disney has said, quote, "We know our guests love choice and flexibility when planning their time at a theme park, which is why, starting September 23rd, we will pause the use of virtual queue for Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, and guests at Disney's Hollywood Studios may experience this incredible attraction using a traditional standby queue for the first time since it opened in 2019.
Sounds so much better.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now I get it. So the virtual queues are going to continue, though, aren't they?
Yeah, with they say virtual queues will continue, be helpful with attraction access, merchandise launches, blah blah blah. But and they actually kind of indicate that they may, let me see, potential use of Star Wars: The Resistance at a later date. So they may actually bring it back. But why would they do that now?
So it's interesting. Like the with the virtual queue, you'd have to get up at before 7 and do it, or be in the park before 1. I think it's going to be like a free for all. People are going to be sprinting like Hunger Games.
like rope drop,
Yeah, like rope drop. But I mean, people would just kind of fast walk to different rides to get fast passes. This is going to be.
I remember
what's the fastest way to go?
Yeah. Well, I remember when Toy Story Midway Mania first opened, and that was the thing, right? You would queue up on the main street there in Hollywood Studios, and then they would open up, and you would just see everybody just massively head straight for Toy Story Midway Mania. I think same thing is going to happen. I think people are going to go, and it's interesting because there's 2 ways you can get around, or 2 or 3 ways you can get around there.
Yeah. I think the fastest way is near the Muppets to go that way.
Yeah,
because that's really where the entrance of that is.
Right. Yeah, if you go in right by that new beer bar that they put right there, if you go straight through there, the queue is right to your left as soon as you go through that little tunnel.
That's the way to go.
Yeah. That's the smart way. But I wonder how they're gonna. I mean, because everybody's gonna race there. If the park opens at 9, by 9:10, it's gonna be an hour and a half wait. Like it. Like there's just not gonna be. Unless you have.
So then people will experience that for a few weeks, and then they'll be thirsty for Genie Plus. So now we'll do that one.
And Genie Plus, the Genie Plus cost for this is probably going to be $24.
Oh, it's going to be the top.
I agree. Yeah. But I do have to say that I know a lot of people who aren't really tech savvy, and I know a lot of people who aren't tech savvy plus not Walt Disney World savvy. And I think that those people would never have experienced this. So in that way, maybe it's a little more fair.
It is, except when the Genie Plus kicks in and people can just pay that, those who have the money to burn, they're going to, I mean, I guess that's the thing, right? They want the people who've got money, who can spend the money and burn through it and run out and spend more money on other attractions and stores and food establishments. So I know it's sort of negative, but this is all a work in progress. It seems like everything is a work in progress right now. So I don't know.
The whole world is a work in progress.
I know. So, we're all sort of lost.
Before we leave this topic, I was going to ask both of you, what would be the maximum number of minutes you would wait to ride this attraction?
90 minutes.
90 minutes to ride
it. That is my limit for anything.
90 minutes.
I would wait 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
I would have a good audio book on my phone.
You don't want to talk to the people you're going on with?
Or have entertaining people like you guys with me, or play that game.
Hey, I was a lot of fun when we waited on.
Put the phone on your head. Yeah, you were fun. We were in
Space Mountain. Come on.
You were like a comedy routine. Yes.
What about
Space Mountain. It's funny. We when we were down there, I think we went on Millennium Falcon, and I think the wait was 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. And even at that point, I was kind of getting antsy. Like, I think I'm getting to the point in my life where it's like, I have less and less time on this planet. And, I have to pick and choose my battles. I do that with books and movies and stuff like that now. Like, I'm now starting to read. I've reached that age where I start to read a book. If it doesn't grab me within the first couple of chapters, I'm like, next book. I can't waste my time. I've got to get to the things I like. I wonder if I'm starting doing that with the ride. I mean, look, that's the other thing. My kids who are 22, like, they have their phones. They're constantly on their phones. So for them, they were just like watching, TikTok videos and whatever. And for them, it was like nothing. But like, do you go to Disney to sit for an hour and a half and look at TikTok videos? Or do you want to go do things? And, and then the parents go, fine, we'll get the GD Plus Fast Pass. We'll go right, Lightning Lane will go right through. So I don't know. I honestly, at this point, I don't even know. 40 minutes might be the max for me these days, 45 minutes. But
what about you, Michael?
Whatever it takes. Remember the last time we went on that attraction, Michelle? Remember where the start of the line was?
Mm-hmm.
From there to
it was almost to the tunnel that comes out of.
But how long does it think it took if we walked casually from that point to the room where we see the hologram and the whole thing starts? How long of a walk do you think that is? About 10 minutes?
I think it's a quarter of a mile.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know. I go by distance.
That's how long I would wait. 15 minutes.
Wow.
For that attraction. And that goes for... I'll
Hardcore.
tell you.
Hardcore.
The one attraction in all of Walt Disney's universe that I would probably maybe wait 90 minutes.
Can I guess? Mickey and Minnie's.
Mickey and Minnie's I'd probably wait a little bit longer. Yeah, Mickey and Minnie's I'd probably do 30 to 40 minutes. But
oh my God, we should do a whole episode on how long you would wait for each ride. That's what we should do. The next episode, we should basically talk about how long you would wait. Because I think it kind of rates the ride for you, the attraction.
Yeah. So what is it?
What's the one in California Adventure with the races?
In Cars Land?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I really like that.
Well, it's so funny, right? Because it's like Test Track, but it's Radiator Springs.
Radiator Springs Racers. Yeah.
I really think that's an unbelievably
I think Mickey and Minnie's
technologically, and maybe if Magic Man or whatever it's called.
Yeah. I think we should maybe think about doing this for the next episode.
Yes,
it's an interesting. What are you willing to wait online? Because I'd love to hear. What I'd love to do though is like have our audience kind of tweet us or put on Facebook how long you'd be waiting for certain rides. Like what's the longest you'd wait for a ride, and send it to us, and we can maybe read them out on the air and let people.
Well, it's interesting. The thing that we always discuss is, well, we're coming back here, blah 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 blah. So, but for people who aren't coming back and who don't have annual passes, it's a different story. But yes, for people who do get to go often and have seen all these attractions, what would you wait?
But it's also, but then you have to start weighing things in, like how long is your vacation going to be? When's how long in between trips? How important is this ride to you? Like,
is this your only day in the park?
Right. That's the whole thing, right? Which plays into it. But, and also just the fact that you've got one day in this park, are you willing to spend, an hour and a half, 2 hours waiting online when, you want to catch a lot more in this one day? We all know people who go for 4 or 5 days. They want to barrel through the parks. Like they don't want to sit on a line for 2 hours and destroy half their day.
Yeah.
So, what they really should do is they should have like a bar in every queue.
Yeah.
A couple bars.
Now you're talking, fella.
And as you wait, you have a couple drinks on the rides, and then, which would be great, like on Rock and Roller Coaster. By the time you get to the front of the and it shoots you upside down, and then they're just doing a protein spill on aisle 1, and then you're just
telling for personally that when we're at Bay Lake Tower, that for 8 days I spent almost every day at the pool.
Hey, but how long would you wait online for the pool?
But it's just like I want to relax at I think I spend enough time or appreciate the results that are so fun. And so I feel like I'm at a time in my Disney career or Disney life where I want to spend more time at the resort and go to restaurants. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So I don't want to wait in line. I mean, Magic Kingdom's right there, and it's a wonderful thing, but I just want to chillax.
I know. I was going to say, but that's the thing, is that we were saying the same thing. Like, my wife and I are looking to, you sit and you do the cheese boards and wine at different places. And I'm like, well, then why are we going to Disney World? Like, we could do that pretty much anywhere. Like, well, let's go to Italy and do wine and cheese boards,
right?
For the same price, but it's
for less,
probably much less. But
better wine, probably.
Probably.
I make a fine cheese board, Chris. You can just come to New Hampshire.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll come up there. Probably next year sometime in the far distant future, the way things are going. All right, so if we made a deal next week, maybe we'll do our what are our wait times as long as and any other news that pops up. But as for now, we're going to stop it there, and we're going to wrap it up. And if you want to continue the conversation and give us your wait times for your rides, join us on our Facebook page at Mickey Miles Podcast or on Twitter at Mickey Miles Pod. On behalf of Dr. Michelle Spooner McLean, Mike Scopa, I'm Chris Eliopoulos. We'll see you on the road and in the parks.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Mickey Miles and More podcast. For all of us here at the Mickey Miles and More podcast, this is Rick Gregg saying thanks for listening and all your support. And until next time, we'll see you on the road.